What is going on, family members? Welcome back to another special Cruise Island, bringing you Overreaction Monday. My first time hosting it, so hopefully I do Couch Coach a little bit of justice. First with the intros, if you saw our show yesterday, same group of guys, same goats. I got my guy Jeff over to my right, looking at the screen. Jeff, how you doing?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on. I love to get a chance to talk a little NFL. It's much easier on my heart, my anxiety, my nervous system to talk some meaningless NFL games rather than these high stakes college football games.
Yeah, I bet you're an irrational, like on the other end. Like I don't like the super irrational. We won a game where like Cowboy fans are every year. We win one game, Super Bowl bound. Like your team is 9-0 or 10-0 right now, and you're like, oh, this team's trash. Move on to next year.
Yeah,
Um,
but I love
Prez,
my Dolphins. They got 3 losses, and I'm loving it.
right?
Shout out to
Prez,
wait a minute.
how's it going?
Maybe it's because they have an actual playoff system. Anyway.
I'm doing good. I appreciate being on the show. This is going to be a fun one. Get the crew back.
I'm excited. My guy Mo Murphy up in flames.
What's going on, man? Hey, it's overreaction Monday. My team had a bye week. It was a stress-free day of football on Sunday, even though lately I haven't been too stressed out. But I just got to watch everybody's teams enjoy a good brand of football. And yeah, we'll get into my biggest winner because I can't wait.
Yeah, it must be nice. I wish I didn't have to stress on a football Sunday. I think even in our bye week, I'll probably still end up stressing. But it is what it is. An exciting, very exciting week 9 overall. Actually, if you're just a fan of the NFL, it's a lot of good games, a lot of close games, a lot of high scoring games. President's Miami Hurricanes wouldn't know anything about that. But so we're gonna get into our biggest winners. So I'm gonna start with you, Jeff. I'm gonna start with they know what high scoring games are. They just don't know what it's like to be the high scoring team in said high scoring game. But Jeff, who was your biggest winners from week 9?
I think the NFC North. You got the Vikings who are rolling. They're in contention for the top spot in the NFC. They watched the Packers look dead. So finally, Aaron Rodgers, who has haunted this division for 15 years, it officially looks like they're done. And then you got if you're the Bears, you feel like right now you might actually have a quarterback, which is huge. They're having a little bit of fun. You got a decent base, you got something to build around. If you're the Lions, your draft picks, your last few seasons of draft picks are looking pretty good. It looks like you have a good base for what you project your future to be, and you just beat the Green Bay Packers. So I think that everybody in the NFC North, but the Packers ought to feel pretty good about themselves right now.
Yeah, I like that. Again, Packers have looked terrible. I think Rogers' second 5-game losing streak in his career. That team just does not look like anything like they were supposed to look this year. Mo, I'm gonna go with you. Biggest winners of this week 9.
So I have two. One team, one player. Biggest winner, the Jets. Brees Hall goes down. Elijah Vera Tucker goes down. We look like this could be the demise of the New York Jets. As good as they've been playing, you lose an offensive lineman, you lose your big-time playmaker at running back, and you could see it going negative, and you wouldn't blame, oh, man, it's just unfortunate circumstance. That's how football's played. Injuries happen. How can you adapt? And you still think, like, oh, they're not beating the Bills. I mean, these were 10.5-point underdogs. Like, there was essentially a lot of people thought they would have no chance. And they end up winning the game. In a fashion of Zach Wilson looked good. I think he looked good. He looked adequate. He looked way different than when you throw the ball 48 times. It was completely different, play efficient. 26 times I think he threw the ball, 70% completion percentage for the first time in his career. Garrett Wilson looked really well. In their defense is amazing. Like on any given Sunday, that's the best defense in the NFL. That's arguably the best secondary in the NFL. Robert Saleh, for his comments of keeping receipts, well, he's keeping them and he's dishing them out for everybody that counted out the Jets. So I definitely got to say the New York Jets. And then biggest winner as far as a player, call me biased, bro. It's got to be Justin Fields. Like through the first 4 to 5 weeks, everybody killed him. It's another Ohio State quarterback that can't be successful. This man has been getting better in his second year as a starter, first year as a full-time starter. He's been getting better every week, and the flashes are a lot longer. It's not just one or two plays here or there. His ability to run the ball, we knew was elite and amazing, but you're seeing it in real time. He can throw the ball, and I'll even throw in the Bears offensive coordinator for the fact that they finally buckled down and said, we're going to run an offense catered to Justin Fields' strength, and we're going to leave the weaknesses out of there. He doesn't have to throw for 200-some yards or 300 yards to win a game, and I know they lost against Miami Dolphins, the superior team, but at the end of the day, like, Justin Fields progressively is looking better, and so I say he's the biggest winner. He went tick for tack with Tua Tagovailoa and you know, that offense over that high-powered offense over there in Miami. So I got to say he's the biggest winner for the simple fact, like, for the past 4 weeks, he's looked like the best quarterback in this class. And I know it's only 4 weeks, and I'm not saying he's going to be the star quarterback, but so far he's looked like the best. And he's the one who's progressing the most because each week he never ceases to amaze you. Miami's defense is decent. He looked good against Dallas's defense. And we know on any given day, that's a top 5 defense. So, like, he's starting to come into his own where we're like, okay, this really might be a guy who is good, and we just got to surround him with talent. So I think with the Bears haven't been able to answer their quarterback problem, at least for now, they see him progressing. Now they got to surround him with the adequate talent on the outside and even in the trenches. But I think Justin Fields has to be a big winner because you actually looking at him and like, this guy could play. He is an NFL quarterback. Might not be elite, may never be top 5, top 10, but this guy is an adequate quarterback that the Bears will not go into the draft next year seeking a quarterback. They can address all their other needs on both sides of the ball to start building a winning team with all the draft picks that they've acquired at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I like both those. I left Fields off of mine purposely because I knew there was no way Mo was skipping it, so there was no reason for us to double up on it. And but I totally agree with everything he said. He literally said exactly what I was thinking. And it's just like Mo said, this isn't an Ohio State thing. This is we like to see this type of talent come into the league and succeed because these players are fun. Same with Zach Wilson. I want Zach Wilson to succeed. I want Tua to succeed. I want all these guys to succeed. And they had a really good week. And finally the old quarterbacks are fading, you know, and kind of making room. And it was fun to watch. And I love what you said about the Jets. What I would say another winner is the Jets draft. We all said last year what a good draft they had, and when they hit on the players, and you know, it's a shame that Breece Hall got hurt, but they still hit on him. The whole running back thing is what it is. But regardless, he's a good player. That's what turns his team around. This team turned around and basically the right coach and the right draft, and then they just knocked off what we thought was the best team in football. So 2 good picks, Mo.
Yeah, I like them. Prez.
I'm going to go with Tua's performance as a big win and his MVP race, you know, continuing. And imagine if he didn't get the concussion, all that, he might be atop the leaderboard for MVP because Josh Allen did not have a good week this week. And that's another winner, too. The Jets defense absolutely came to play. They came to play, no touchdowns. They didn't let, you know, Sauce looks like a true lockdown, you know, number 1 corner in the league.
Yeah.
Like he looks already like top 10 right now as a rookie, you know, halfway through the season.
There's some good looking young defensive backs in the league right now, by the way. Okudah looked really good in the Detroit game too.
Yeah,
like as far as these guys that got highly drafted and to make an impact early, but Sauce is like,
yeah. And that whole defense is, you know, solid, finally getting those guys to play up. But Tua, man, his another 3 touchdowns. I mean, a lot of people, you know, we were skeptical about him. You know, Tyreek, Tyreek goes from Mahomes to Tua and all that, and Waddle, you know, they might have the best 1-2 punch at receiver, you know, going. And Tua has played really good football, you know, you know, the biggest winner for me, you know, would be him and his MVP chances, because it's kind of crazy that we're even thinking about Tua being an MVP. Like that wasn't even thought about. You know, we thought about maybe him being benched halfway through the year, potentially, some people. So Tua continue hot streak, and that's why I'm very high on Miami, and they seem like they're getting back on track.
Another one I left off my list, but you guys nailed a couple things too with all the teams you're talking about. This is where coaches have adjusted to their talent. and help their talent, become better and excel and evolve. And that's why the Bears are trending in the right direction. The Dolphins are trending in the right direction. The Jets are trending in the right direction. Like, it's when you coach to your talent and not try to put, square pegs in round holes.
Yeah, I like Tua a lot. Again, like you said, if he had never gotten that concussion, if Mike McDaniels didn't try to kill him, where would he be at right now?
I don't know if that's true. I think McDaniel trusted people, and they were wrong. There's no
I
because
agree.
what advantage would the head coach have to risking putting Tua out there and lose his season? I think he talked to the doctors. They told him one thing. They were obviously wrong. I know what the tape looked like and all that, but like, I've done it too. I've been like, man, my knee really hurts, and they're like, nah, you're just kind of old. You're fine. I mean, and I don't tell my doctor like, no, I don't believe you. Like, I'm like, okay, you're the doctor. So like, I think it worked out wrong, but I do not think that McDaniel intentionally was trying to. Why would you do it against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Does that make any sense?
I mean, even us just looking at it as fans who saw when he got tackled, the way he got up and stumbled, like even we knew, like, hey, you probably got a concussion. And we're in the era of just take caution,
But Mike
be
McDaniel
precautious.
does not have a PhD. He is not a doctor. And so, as a
Right.
head coach, what you are supposed to do, you're supposed to evaluate all things. But if I sit there and as a head coach and I'm like, I'm not playing him the next game because it didn't look right, but I have every team doctor and physician on my team saying he's good to go, then it's not wrong for Mike McDaniel to be like, yeah, I could go on the side of caution, but at the same time, I don't have the PhD. And so if you're in my ear telling me that my quarterback's good to go, as a head coach, my job is to put the best players on the field to give me the best opportunity to win a game. So I don't blame Mike McDaniel. I mean, yeah, you could say go on the side of caution, but it's like if 3 doctors are telling you, hey, he's good to go, he's fine, it wasn't a concussion, it was a back issue, then it's like at the same time, like, well, I don't have the PhD, they do. So if it's negligence on the doctor side, they addressed that situation. I think they fired him. If I'm not mistaken, I think they fired the physician. So
and that's fair. I know that part. I agree with.
Negligence on the doctor's side because maybe the doctor is like thinking inadequate and clouded of like, oh, I know the team needs the best position to win, and I'm gonna throw Tua out there and I'm gonna tell the coach he's okay.
But I don't think there's any advantage to that early in the season. That early in the season, I think it was a screw up, but I do not think it was a conspiracy. Anyway, I know we will move on from that because it's dead and buried now. But
Last thing I'll say on it is if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably.
well,
a
you're
duck.
probably right, but that's with a lot of players. Like, are we going to stop giving guys injections at halftime because we know that they got a bad hamstring or a bad knee, or they shouldn't be out there? Like, Josh Allen shouldn't have played the end of that game. I'm going to talk about that when we talk about losers. Like, are we going to kill the coach if Josh Allen's can't play the rest of the year and he needs Tommy John surgery? Do we kill the coach? Because it's not his head, we don't care.
When we're talking
as much.
about head injuries, it's a lot different.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is, though, when does a coach supposed to step in? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I got you, but my winner has to be the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith. Go in, handle.
Geno's a winner. Geno wins 2022 so far.
He probably does. I think that's lead candidate for comeback player of the year so far. Win and handle business against Arizona. Los Angeles lost again. They're at 3-5. Cardinals dropped to 3-6. San Francisco didn't even play. They're at 4-4. That's really their only real concern right now is San Francisco sitting there at 4-4. Just got CMC, who looked great in his first game with them. But right now, I would not be shocked at this. I know I think Jeff and Prez were on the show the other night, and we had talked about Super Bowl predictions, and we all basically said Bills and Niners. But I wouldn't be surprised if Niners make it as a wild card because this Seahawks team just looks really good right now. They're handling business. And Geno Smith is doing what Geno Smith needs to do. He's not trying to play hero ball, which a lot of these quarterbacks in the league, especially the mid ones that don't quite understand that. Taylor Heineke.
So, I got a lot of thoughts on that coming up, Cruz. You're going to have a lot of fun when we get to that.
Looking at the Seahawks coming up schedule, Tampa Bay, who hasn't looked good, Vegas, who has looked like complete ass, Rams, who have looked bad, Panthers, who just got mollywopped, the Niners, Chiefs, and Jets, and then Rams again. So like they could be sitting at probably the 3 or 4 seed as a division winner, most likely 3, because whoever wins the NFC South will probably be the 4 seed.
Yeah, I love the Seahawks team. I love the story. It's legit. Like we've seen enough of it now to where it's not a fluke. Like we see this a lot. These teams, like we saw it last year with Carolina. You guys remember they came out undefeated. Yeah. Darnold looked like a different player. All this stuff, and then everything crashed. This Geno thing looks sustainable. It looks like he's in the I don't want to step on some of my other stuff, but he's in the right place at the right time with the right coach. Another theme of like coach your players you have. That's what coaches do.
And his teammates believe in him too. That was another thing they had a big emphasis on that I heard a lot today was
he's a veteran now.
Yeah. The teammates just rally around him. And since even last year when he played a few games when Russ was out, like even then, like they rallied probably more around him. They like him more than their Russ.
They clearly hated Russ. I think that's so evident now of how the dislike that team had for Russ from the Super Bowl on is so clear.
We're hearing a lot of stuff by former teammates
and there's a lot of stuff you don't hear. And this is what I say. This is the same thing's gonna. I just want to real quick. Same thing's gonna happen to Aaron Rodgers because it's not only what you hear, it's what you don't hear. You don't hear players, rushing to defend guys. You don't hear all these other stories. If they just keep their mouth closed, you're like, oh, this isn't good. And that's what happened with Russ. Same thing's what happened with Rodgers. The day he steps out the door, people are going to unload on that cat.
Especially former players. Like, I don't think Randall Cobb will be the guy, but some of those former players who were good and they're like, man, it was just, why do you keep falling short? They can finally answer these questions without any repercussion because they're not in the league anymore.
You couldn't tell me Jordan Love would be having a worse season right now. You couldn't tell me that.
He wouldn't be any worse. Like the Packers,
that's what I'm saying.
Any worse. But real quick, before we move on to biggest losers, I just want to throw out one more biggest winner. And I know a couple of them didn't play. The first-year head coaches. The first-year head coaches have to be the biggest winners. Mike McDaniel comes out with a W. Miami looks pretty much just as good as anybody in the AFC, let alone almost just as good as anybody in the NFL. The Giants are sitting there with Brian Daboll. And I know they had a bye week, so we're not evaluating the Giants, but you look at what they've done up before their bye week, and you're like, this is a good team. Whether you like the personnel or not, you're like, they win. And in the NFL, it's not about style points. All that matters is the win and the loss column. That's it. How you win does not matter. People love to pick it apart, but their strength of schedule and this and that. But at the end of the day, all you have to do is win because all that matters going into the playoffs based on your seeding is your record, and then we'll let it show your strength of schedule or whatever in the playoffs. But Brian Daboll and then Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings, like they're in a place where they look like they're going to probably win the division. They're going to compete for the 1 seed. They only have 1 loss right now. They're going to compete for the 1 seed. I think Philly will drop a game or two. First off, just to get the monkey off their back and lose. You don't want to go into the playoffs being undefeated because that heightens the expectations. And I think Philly will do it even towards the end of the season. If they don't just lose outright by being outplayed, I think they'll go ahead and sit some guys and get that loss off just so you go in there. Even 16-1 is less pressure than being 17-0 going into the playoffs. But the first-year head coaches right now, like a lot of them are in playoff position, and not just playoff position, they're contenders. Like, if I told you the Dolphins could win the Super Bowl, you would not tell me I'm an idiot. If I told you the Vikings could win the Super Bowl, you wouldn't tell me I'm insane. If I told you the Jets end up in the AFC Championship, you wouldn't call me an idiot. And I know Robert Saleh is in his second year, but Brian Daboll, if I told you the Giants win a playoff game and have it close and an opportunity and maybe the ball doesn't fall their way to get to the NFC Championship game, you wouldn't tell me I'm dumb and say you don't know what you're talking about. These first-year head coaches are winning games, and they're winning at a high level to the point where maybe we don't look at the Giants as contenders, but they go to the playoffs, and you wouldn't be surprised if they win a playoff game. You wouldn't be surprised if you see the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. You wouldn't be surprised if you see the Vikings in the Super Bowl. So I got to say the first-year head coaches are the biggest winners too because of how well they're looking. They're not just keeping afloat. These are really, really good teams by first-year head coaches that have turned around cultures in a matter of 9 weeks. Like
But real quick, part of that is too, there's two things that factor into that. These first year coaches get to benefit from those teams being bad for a while. And so when they get there, they got a lot of good young talent. It's not their fault,
right.
but it's a good position to be in, to step in. Like all the guys that you said are stepping into, like, there's a lot of talent here already. But that's fine. I'm just pointing out that, like, them being bad for all those years helps the new head coaches. That's why they're new head coaches.
Heaven. Essentially,
what you want to be is you want to be a first year head coach, and you want your general manager to have done a good job for like 3 years. That's what I would say.
It was first year head coach heaven so far.
So far.
So, Perez, we're going to start with you and move on to our biggest losers of the week.
Oh, biggest losers of the week. I mean, Arizona. I mean, they've been losers all year round, but it's like, come, you want to believe in them every week. You're like, all right, they're gonna get over it. It's Hopkins is finally back. He's getting in the groove. Rondell Moore isn't. They got Connor coming back, and they just go back to just losing, and just there's dysfunction on the offense, and it's a disaster. And I wouldn't be surprised if Cliff's the next coach. We just saw Frank Reich just get canned today, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cliff's next. I think we've been saying that Cliff's been on the hot seat. They had a great run last year, right? But they fell off big time towards the end of the season, and there was rumors that he might get let go then. To me, I mean, how many more losses are they going to be able to have before, Cliff's got to go? So to me, Arizona, I mean, it's just – just massively disappointing. What's
the biggest mistake by Arizona? We'll just put it this way. Of the two things you got to have as an NFL team, you got to have your head coach, you got to have a quarterback. We understand that you have to have a bunch of other good players, but let's face it, you have to have those two. Mm-hmm. Which would be the best switch for Arizona? A new quarterback or a new head coach? Now, I'm not saying what can happen because they gave Kyler the money.
Got to get out of there.
I think it's Kyler.
So I think it's the quarterback.
I think Kyler's a problem.
But you can't get rid of.
No, I'm not saying what can happen.
I'm saying what. Kyler is an issue. No, I'm not disagreeing.
I think Kyler's
which one is a bigger issue.
And the quarterback is an issue because he just seems like he's not in it. He's been very off this year.
If Arizona could I'm saying this because of their age. If Arizona could switch or straight up trade right now, say they're they got the Madden machine, and they could switch quarterbacks. Would Arizona trade Kyler Murray for Justin Fields tomorrow if they could?
I think Cliff would for sure. Like, I think he'd be all for it. They're not on the same.
I think Kyler is an issue. I don't think it's just a coach. I think it's like Aaron Rodgers. Like, for years, it was like wrong coach. Aaron Rodgers can't do it. And then things kept going. And then we thought it was better. It's like, well, it's still a problem. Like, maybe it's the quarterback.
Oh yeah, he's definitely.
I think he's a good quarterback. But I think I think everything we see, like, at some point you have to, like Crew said it, at some point you have to, like, believe what you see. Kyler is walking like a duck. I have to believe that he is not mentally prepared right now to be basically the franchise quarterback. I think that's part of the problem. And Cliff is probably like I think we see the opposite with Tua. I think Tua is accepting the coaching. He's young. He's the same age or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think Jalen Hurts. Oh my God! Look what Hurts is doing compared to what Kyler Murray is doing. Arizona would take Hurts now in a millisecond over Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
like at some point, like, it has to. He's another one of these guys that in 10 years we're going to be like, Kyler Murray, so much talent. He's Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? He's Aaron Rodgers, but he doesn't have that Super Bowl. But he's got the contract, and he's essentially stuck as a starting quarterback. But I'm really starting to think that it's 80% Kyler.
Yeah, and they're not going to get rid of him, one, because it's a quarterback.
Oh no, I know it's not happening. Trust me.
And two, because you fire the head coach, that doesn't count against your cap. So
no, you're. I know. 100%. I totally get that he's not going anywhere, but I'm saying the actual problem. The next coach that comes in has the same problem. Green Bay hasn't won a Super Bowl in a long time for a reason, and they've had the quarterback So something's wrong there. Same quarterback, can't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely an issue there. But I think Cliff's definitely going to be gone if they lose another game or two.
Yeah,
he's on 3-8. If they're 3-6 now, they go to 3-8. It's got to be a wrap for Cliff. So
yeah, it will be. I think that, but I don't think Kyler. I don't think he showed this. I think becoming a professional athlete has changed Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like, I'm not saying he's a bad person, but I don't think he's doing everything he can to lead this franchise. All the stuff they talked about in the summer, no, don't put that clause in his contract and everything, but also just don't give him the contract.
Yeah, but they have a lot of issues. Like
he needed treated like Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
but they don't.
That's what they should have done. Have been like
horrible too. Their defense is really bad, and it put them in a lot of tough positions. I'm not.
Yeah, but I'm saying the way he plays though. I don't mind if they lose, but like they need to do what the Browns did with Mayfield to be like, we'll sign the 5th year, but we're not giving you that giant contract until you show us that you deserve it. Kyler, they threw out that money too early. I don't think his talent level is so
playoff appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got waxed. But there was pressure. That's pressure to sign their quarterback.
Against the wall. They felt like they were too good to be able to tank for a top-tier quarterback, and they felt like they needed Kyler Murray more than Kyler Murray needed them. They played the back against the wall at the negotiations.
And guess who's the best quarterback in the division this year? 32-year-old Geno Smith.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I'll keep waiting on it.
Yeah, but they have a lot of issues over there. But the defense is trash. I think they're like the bottom 2 in like points per game and just almost every category.
Well, because they built a team the wrong way. They built a team with
well, that's why the GM's been there way too long.
Exactly. They just didn't build a good team. Well, and we don't know if they missed yet, but like Simmons isn't Micah Parsons, and I think they thought he was going to be because of a great interception against Ohio State in a bowl game. Like Simmons got drafted probably 20 spots higher because of shit like that. But I mean, that happens with teams. Like
that's how that was their philosophy.
You miss sometimes.
They drafted a lot of guys like that. Those hybrid linebacker safety types, and it just hasn't really panned out. And there's not a real.
Well, not if you don't run that type of defense.
Yeah, and they're still relying on like JJ Watt to produce pressure, and he's
another mistake.
He's not used in JJ Watt, so there's just a lot going on in Arizona.
Mo, I'm gonna go with you next. Who's your biggest loser for the week?
Okay, so I have 3, but I'm not going to go into long debates I'm not going to go into long explanations on why. The Rams are the biggest loser. Why? They had
I'll check them off real quick. Come on.
Oh, sorry, my bad, Jeff. They had
that's fine.
They had an opportunity to win the game. The defense made the stop. And what did Jalen Ramsey come out and say? There's no reason why the offense could not keep us off the field. We made the big stop. We come on the sideline. We get congratulated by coaches. And then we get told by our defensive coordinator that we got to go back out on the field and stop Tom Brady with time left because our offense couldn't do the job. The Rams I get the Super Bowl hangover, but we're past that point. Now we're looking at the Rams as you're just not a good team. Like, so the Rams are one. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are another one, but I think they're going to continue to be biggest losers. But
without saying,
yeah, you played against you played against the worst defense in the league, giving up the most points, literally, and you came out of that, you scored 9. Like, you scored 9 against the Lions, and I just want to put it, everybody, like, we were willing to crucify Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys for not immediately lighting the world on fire in his first game back against the Lions, against the worst defense. Finally got it together in the second half, but like, there should be no protecting Aaron Rodgers. He played absolutely terrible. He threw 3 interceptions, 2 of which were in the red zone. 1 was inside the 25-yard line. That's on the quarterback. That's not on the receivers who drop. It'd be different if they batted up passes and they were up for interception. No, he threw blatant interceptions, and then the Colts. And the only reason I say the Colts is because today they fired their head coach to hire a ESPN NFL analyst that has never coached college or NFL. And what they decide to do is say, hey, we'll take our beloved center who has 0 head coaching experience except at the Christian Academy high school level, which is like 1A or 2A in any state in America. And you know what? We're going to make that guy our head coach. And if that's your notion of telling us you're tanking, then you suck at it and you should be fined for even doing that. So the Colts are another big loser because you fire your head coach for all the reasons why he should have been fired, but you hired Jeff Saturday.
I want to push back on this. I want to talk about this Jeff Saturday thing. I'm going to push back on it. I think it's a great decision because what a team does wrong so many times, they just there's two things that this says. This means Indianapolis is cleaning house. The entire coaching staff is gone. What you don't want to deal with is promoting an offensive or a defensive coordinator, and then that guy has 2 or 3 good wins, and then everybody's like, he's the next guy. You got to think about it. I like what Irsay did. Bring a guy in, keep all the coordinators in place. If you don't change the head coach, everything pretty much should stay the same because everybody else has the same job. When you promote a coordinator, everybody has to change jobs. So you move like 6 positions on a team. I like it. They brought a guy in. What they've told the coaching staff is you're out. Like you're all gone at the end of the year. Jeff Saturday is it's a lot like when Oklahoma brought Bob Stoops in to coach the bowl game last year. Like everybody knew it was a one-time deal. It was not the future. Everybody was going to be gone at the end of the season. So I actually love the fact that they did it. I think it's weird. I've never seen it before, but when I thought it out, I'm like, I'm the guy that's always saying, why are you promoting coordinators? Like, obviously they're not the guy, blah, blah, blah. Now, Irsay doesn't have to deal with any of this, like, a guy put in place and almost saves the season, any of that. Jeff Saturday's going to be gone. He can part ways with him cleanly. Get the whole coaching staff will be out, and Irsay can go out and get the whatever the hottest, probably it's going to be a college coach at this point, hopefully Ryan Day, and maybe take the whole staff, with him, something like that. You know what I mean? Like he can put his coaching staff in place and fake interview like 3 black guys, and then hire whatever white guy he actually wanted, and it's all done. I actually think it's a genius move.
So before we move on,
we're not going to the Ryan Day comment. We are not entertaining that comment right now.
Well, I think he's gonna be a great NFL coordinator as soon as possible.
Before we move on,
I
gotta introduce our guy Kenneth. Kenneth, real quick, just before we get into the Ryan Day and Jeff Saturday dynamic duo that's gonna be leading the Indianapolis Colts next year. Who's your biggest winner for the week?
Biggest winner for the week? The New York Jets. Big time. I don't know how it's not the Jets. 11-point underdogs at home against Buffalo, and you just smacked them in the mouth and said, because I think everyone had crowned Buffalo after the Kansas City game. They're like, this it's Super Bowl for the Bills. And the Jets said, hold up, this isn't a 2-team race, and we would like to enter the chat, per se. I don't think that they've actually entered the chat. I think it's very tough to win on the road in division games like that, especially against a quality defense like the Jets. But I think it's a huge win for them. People had a lot of doubts after how Zach Wilson looked last week. And he wasn't even great. Let's be real. On Sunday.
Okay.
I'm not going down the road if he was phenomenal, but
Mo called him adequate. Okay, that's fair.
He did well enough to win a big division game at home.
He won it, but he did win. That's important. Yep, absolutely.
Trust me, I'm not going down
which at the end of the day, that's all you really need.
Yeah.
So Kendra, who's your losers for this week?
The Raiders. I mean,
I'll check them off too.
I was going to go down that line, but that's.
I mean, seriously, you go up a couple scores and then just completely shut down offensively, and it's almost like they have a terrible head coach that they hired, and everyone knew that they hired
was going to be a terrible head coach.
We knew that they hired a terrible head coach because this team on paper should be good. Like the pieces are there for them to be a good football team. And in a division, they've somehow looked worse than the Denver Broncos this year. Let that set in, that they've somehow looked the worst in the AFC West this year. The Chargers haven't looked good either. And the Chargers are still the second best team in this division, which is pretty wild. So I'm going to say Vegas, you don't go out and sign Devontae Adams to go from a playoff team to, wow, if we go 500, it's going to be a miracle.
I mean, at this point, Josh McDaniels can go to the Colts for real now, right?
No, he's done. He's nothing but an offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick. That's it. That is his job for the rest of his life.
He might be done.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick probably has the worst coaching tree of any like good to great coaches.
But you know why? Let me tell you. Let me explain why. And I've said this outside of like the running backs, the position dying. What I've said for decades is coordinators are coordinators, head coaches are head coaches. Like, it's not a seamless transition. Like if you're a really good coordinator, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand the obsession with like a coordinator has to move up to head coach. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but you're right, Mo, as far as like buyout money, but like they're just like his coaching tree is great as coordinators.
Yeah.
I do not understand the obsession with like hire whatever best team is, hire their coordinators. I do not understand the obsession with it.
Because
I get giving a coordinator one shot.
That's what I mean. But I mean, when they fail, it's like, well, maybe they're just a really good coordinator. Like,
and that's why it didn't make any sense because we've already seen this song and dance, and maybe he's just a good coordinator, as you said. Nothing wrong with that.
And it really wasn't a great coordinator because Josh McDaniel. But he's never had a good offensive season without the best quarterback of all time.
It's true.
Yeah, that's
if you look at the stats, like his offense took deep dives when Brady wasn't around. Like he didn't, elevate them. So there is something. I'm not saying he's a bad one by any means.
Yeah.
I think he was a good play caller with a guy that he knew could run the plays. I really honestly do think he was a really good play caller. I think he saw the game well, but that's what coordinators do. While the head coach is worried about like, a guy wobbling off the field, a guy puking in a tunnel, when to call the timeout. He's watching the clock. The coordinator's job is to call plays and figure out, the other side of the ball and all these things. And that's what McDaniels was pretty good at. And then when you go to head coach, that's not what you do anymore.
No. And
so now you just have a bad team.
He somehow took Derek Carr from being top 5 in passing yards to, as of right now, he's 16th in passing yards.
Can we finally be past
Derek Carr isn't that good anyway? So
but that being said,
but he played good last year.
Regression.
And let's talk about Darren Waller. Darren Waller might not be the next Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, he might be.
Let's calm down on Darren Waller.
Yeah,
he might be Michael Thomas at the tight end position.
Yeah.
We look at you as elite, and then you decide to you got your bag and never play.
Yeah, you're not playing anymore. Yeah, good point.
Mo, did you say you had one more? So you had one more.
He's always got one more.
No, my one more. I was going to.
Is it Alabama
this week? Is somehow the Jets
how Alabama is trash because they lost by 2 at the buzzer twice.
Because Alabama's lost by a total of 5 points this year.
By 23.
I was gonna go the Raiders route, but I left it alone because I was like, really, I wasn't gonna say the Raiders as much as Josh McDaniels, but it is the Raiders.
Yeah, I had them on mine too.
Third game where they've been up double digits, and I think the lowest they were up was like 14-0. Twice they've been up 17-0 and lose games. Like you can't constantly lose games up 17 in the NFL and think that it's not a problem. So whether it's a head coaching problem, whether it's your coordinators on both sides problem, whatever it is, the Raiders we're not watching them and be like, oh, that's just a terrible brand of football. You don't go up 17-0 on multiple occasions and be a bad team, but a bad team goes up 17-0 and is never able to hang on to the lead. So the Raiders, as easily as they're 2-6, they could be at 500 right now if they won all the games that they had double-digit leads on and should have won, but there's something going on in Vegas. And to hear that McDaniel's job is safe, like to hear a report saying his job is safe through the year and let alone going into next year, like that's crazy to me because this is another opportunity where Josh McDaniels showed you he sucks as a head coach.
Yeah, agreed.
Like I'm looking for a new head coach next year.
Ryan Day's available.
No, he's not. He's not. We're not entertained. Cruz, move on from that comment.
Jeff wants Ohio State unranked. That's what he wants. He just wants them unranked.
45th in the message.
He wants them 40th.
He wants them 25th, and then when they beat Michigan, jump all the way to 2.
No, he'll still say they're only like the 13th best team in the country.
No, I just want them to be better than Northwestern.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a start. Can we start with?
We're not 14 points better.
Can we start with like scoring touchdowns on Iowa? That would be a start.
Hold on, that's a sore subject for some people.
Anyway,
in
NFL.
Prez,
It's
who's
NFL.
who's your biggest loser?
Oh, my biggest lose. Oh, I think I went the loser, the Cardinals.
That's
Oh,
right,
yeah,
you
yeah.
did.
I haven't went yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
So you guys, took all the obvious ones, which is awesome. I figured we would double up. The only other one I had, the NFL late game viewers. Like, really, we get we call them 4 o'clock games in the East, 1 o'clock games, whatever you want to say, 2 late afternoon, the window. And it's the Rams and Tampa Bay, which I'm not saying that wasn't a decent game.
When they scheduled it, it was supposed to be a good game.
Yeah, but I don't need a standalone game. Give me 4 games. Like, just
Yeah.
give me 4 games. Like, there was no reason to have the 1 o'clock window loaded so much and then give us
we only had
2
games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also on the East Coast, like, we're not near as involved in Seattle, Arizona as you think we might be. Like, give us 4 games, and just in case they're not good, and wind up being a kind of a bad afternoon, lineup. Luckily, it was beautiful here in Ohio, so I went disc golfing and drank some beers. But man, if it would have been crappy out, I'd have been really upset. So
We had a
NFL,
snowstorm. I couldn't leave the house, and I had to watch those 2 games.
yeah, and you were like, really? Because even the commercials double up at that point. Let's always have 4 games in the afternoon window. That's all I'm saying.
My biggest loser is Scott Turner, offensive coordinator, Washington Commanders. He's trash. Like,
Do you need an offensive coordinator? Because I've got
we
one
get
for
Ryan
you.
Day?
Are you going to build a retractable roof stadium with heated sideline seats? Because I've got the guy for you.
I don't know. Jeff Bezos might actually do all that for us.
I think they're below the Mason-Dixon line, right? Because you'll be fine.
If I was smart, I'd be able to tell you.
What's the average November temperature in Washington, D.C.?
Not
like
nice.
40 degrees. It'd be kind of cold.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of cold up there.
Well, it's actually nice in the Northeast right now. So it's 70s in New York right now. So it's probably around there in Washington.
Yeah, just wait till December when it just starts snowing on a Tuesday for no reason.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, Cruz. Go ahead.
Watching this game, it's 69 degrees right now in DC. Just so you guys are aware. Watching this game, and I'll go one step further. And a lot of people have been giving him flat because his mother died recently, and I feel for him, but that has no bearing on you as an NFL head coach. Ron Rivera needs to be fired right now. Yesterday, I don't care. Let Chase Young be the head coach of the team, because that's apparently what we're doing these days. Ron Rivera needs to.
What's Darryl Green doing right now? You bring him back as head coach.
You know what?
Would that be awesome?
That would be. I would be excited.
Or Clinton.
No, I got it. No, I got the answer. London Fletcher.
That would, like,
you
from a
win out the
motivation
season.
standpoint.
You win the NFC East if London Fletcher's your head coach for the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
I like this trend that Indianapolis has started.
No.
Do it.
Frank
But what
Reich's
happens-
available.
As an OC next year, absolutely. So what happens when Jeff Saturday rattles off 3-4 straight wins? Are we
Nothing.
now looking at Jeff Saturday as
No,
the
he
next
doesn't
head
want to be
of
the head coach.
India?
That's the whole point. It's going to be awesome.
No, because
And
he's not rattling off 3 or 4 wins in the first place.
And I will say this, Indianapolis has a dome, so they're probably going to tank for CJ Stroud. And he doesn't have to play away games.
Is this Buckeye remix part 3?
I'm not doing this, Jeff. Why are you doing this?
No, we're not talking about Buckeyes. I'm talking about the number 1 rated quarterback in the country, and Indianapolis is one of the worst teams. Then you need a quarterback. How's that not relevant?
Ryan Day and CJ Stroud right now. We're not doing this, Jeff.
Well, I don't know what you're. It's a weird coincidence.
I didn't know Ohio State was 4-5.
Y'all realize CJ Stroud's playing for Indianapolis next year. I'm not wrong about this.
More than likely, it's
More
very,
than I mean, I'm not kidding.
very possible.
He just ain't.
But
He's not playing in New England.
Ron Rivera, his lack of game management is fucking atrocious. To challenge a 3rd and 1 when you have momentum,
God, that was bad.
when clearly you could see just from the real-time play, he did not get Taylor Heineke did not get the first down. Why would you challenge a 3rd and 1 and lose a timeout? The timeout that came back to bite us when I forgot what's his name. Somebody unnecessary roughness basically beat the center with a club. Essentially, is what they said. But the reason he did that, I think, is because a couple drives before that, get into a 3rd and 1. We tried running tempo. I don't know what happened, but Taylor Heineke either couldn't hear the play, Scott Turner couldn't think of a play, but they ended up calling a timeout into a 4th and 1.
Wait, real quick. Is Scott Norv's boy?
Yes.
Oh, jeez,
Yes.
no
And
wonder.
there lies the problem. Scott is trying to live up to the Turner name when he is not. He tries so hard to make Taylor
Well,
Heineke.
Turner really wasn't either outside of a few seasons. Like, you want to talk about coordinators that like should have stayed coordinators.
And for the most part, North Turner was a coordinator for a majority of his career. I mean, he was
Exactly.
with Washington as a head coach. That he did okay. I think he was right after Marty Schottenheimer. But for the most part, Scott Turner keeps trying to be Norv with non-North players. Like, you can't make Taylor Heineke a league MVP. Like, I don't care how many times you make him throw the ball. You cannot make Taylor Heineke a league MVP. Same thing with Carson Wentz. That's just not who he is anymore. Instead of doing the things, because our run game was working pretty well, we were getting 6, 7, 8 yards to carry. On a 4th and 1, you run a bootleg out of a timeout. And I think that's why Ron Rivera challenged that 3rd-and-1 play, because he was like, man, Scott's about to call some dumb shit right now. Let me go ahead and see if I can just get this yard. And it burned the timeout, and it killed us in the back end. But the thing is, had Ron Rivera not challenged that, we wouldn't have used that timeout anyways, because he doesn't believe in using timeouts. I think he read somewhere in a different rule book where you get to carry over timeouts to the next game. But they both need to go. Let Jack Del Rio finish out the season. Let Jeff Bezos
another
and Jay-Z.
terrible coordinator turned head coach. My gosh.
Well,
you guys are a mess. You guys are a mess.
He's gotten the defense playing right. He's gotten the defense looking how they're supposed to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Now, this is my whole point, Cruz. Don't you wish he would just stay as coordinator with whoever replaces the head coach? Doesn't that make more sense?
Of course, but as of right now, we're going to need an interim head coach. I don't know.
No, I think you do what Indianapolis did. I think you just go get somebody.
Just get anybody.
Joe
random.
Gibbs. Joe Gibbs still alive?
Go get RG3. Get RG3. There you go.
Yeah, you got to go TV analyst.
That would be dope.
RG3's the guy.
Don't even get me started on RG3.
What are we doing here?
Would have a ton of great tweets after games when you lose.
RJ
35.
RJ. I called him RJ3.
And then after he's done coaching, he'll probably, hopefully at that point, he'll come out with his tell-all book on everything wrong with the organization.
Yeah, I think I think about this a lot when I see like the current NFL. If RG3 gets drafted 7 years later, he's Kyler. He's better than Kyler Murray, and he's allowed to play because he wouldn't get murdered.
Yeah.
Like, he's a guy that was just slightly ahead of his time, just ever so slightly.
Yeah, it was.
Kyler's 0-2 since Call of Duty came out.
I was just about to say that because I
didn't want to bring it up.
Dude, how about other players mocking him?
By every single person that realized that the Cardinals lost.
I literally just seen that, and I was going to say it, but I'm like, I'm going to let it ride. I'm going to let it ride.
I didn't want to shoot the man while he's
That's a real thing. I blame Kenneth. I don't think you were here. I blame Kyler Murray for everything in Arizona.
Everything?
Yep. I gave him 80% of the blame.
The weather.
Only 20 on Cliff?
Yep. 80-20.
I would disagree there, but
most people
I don't think Kyler's been great. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but I think it's more than just his on the field stuff. I think he is the problem that we're trying to talk ourselves out of that he is.
Because here's the thing.
He doesn't care about football and he cares about other things. Kind of like how Juju looked early on with the Steelers, how he was super promising and then kind of unfocused.
I think he cares about game day.
I don't think he cares outside of that. I would agree.
Yes. But then I think it becomes a problem on the weekend. And then I think that like there's no checks and balances. I mean, in all honesty, we talk about Geno Smith and how good he's done. And it isn't because of this incident, but when Geno Smith got hit in the mouth, like I listened to a podcast the other day and a guy that was in the locker room said what happened was Geno overstepped his bounds with the wrong dude at that time and was feeling himself. and that dude knocked these lights out.
I
Because
remember that.
and not that I'm not saying Gino deserved it by any means, because I don't believe in like injuring somebody, but the guy basically said Gino didn't know when to stop or when his boundaries were, and you know, and Kyler looks like that type of guy now. He just keeps going off and going off and going off, and I'm like you're not Tom Brady. You're not 25 years in the league Tom Brady, Kyler. I think there's some issues there. But he's got the money now.
There has to be, when you look at that offense with everything that they have there for him to succeed, and yet
but he doesn't even run an offense. He actually doesn't run an offense.
He doesn't. Like, he has more weapons than probably 25 quarterbacks in the league do, and we're talking about them being
Kingsbury is an air raid guy. Air raid guys don't even move in the pocket.
Yeah.
And they went and got one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the history of the league. It just doesn't match up.
Makes sense.
He should be playing like Justin Fields did on Sunday.
We said that. We brought that up. I said they would trade for him right now. And that there's a guy, in all seriousness, if Stroud's there next year, they're a better team instantly, because he'll be happy to just pick defenses apart and stay in the pocket. That's what you do.
Cliff's going to have fun in college again next year, though.
Hey, there's plenty
of openings for him, for sure.
Cliff will be at Nebraska.
Ooh, I could see that.
Nebraska. Get the next young white guy that all the women love, and we'll just hire him at Nebraska because he's an offensive guru.
He's not really that young anymore.
Go get himself a Bo Cunningham.
He's not even 50 yet.
No, he's not 50.
He's like in his late 30s, early 40s. He's still young.
All right, thank you, Mo.
He's
Appreciate
young.
that.
I'm just
he's young as hell. You're right.
You're not old until especially in the coaching world, but you're not old until you hit 50. Like, these 40-year-olds nowadays look 25. So
great. I got 3 years. That's awesome. Thanks, Mo. Anyway, another. So what I hated most this week was Mo.
Oh, well, my bad.
Now we'll go to the things you hated. Jeff, what is something you hated this weekend?
Here's what I hated. This is what I wanted to get into. One thing real quick. I hated to see
winning.
Yeah, I did hate the Ohio State game more than most things in the world. I hate Ohio State game more than rattlesnakes. Like, that was if I had to get rid of two things, it would have been that Ohio State game and then rattlesnakes. But one thing that I hated to see real quick, and we touched on it a little, but we don't know what's going to happen over the next 24 hours. I predict that Josh Allen's arm might be injured in that game, and that awkward hit that he took. And it didn't look right. I know he finished the game, but then now they're saying they're going to wait 24 hours to they'll know more. Scares me. And I just hate to see that for one of the funnest, best quarterbacks, best players in the league. I don't like to see injuries like that. So I hate to see that. But what I really hated was overall, I thought the play was a little down, a little messy this week. Close games to me don't mean a good, well-played game. And I think basically what it is, and we've talked about it all day, is what we keep doing, the NFL keeps doing, is they insist on drafting quarterbacks. Then they got to jam them into places. They got to get them in early. They got to let them play through it. These kids haven't played enough competitive, because in college, it is so here's what you do in college. After every play, you look to your head coach and he tells you what to do, or your coordinator and he tells you what to do. You don't really learn the game, learn situational play. It's all look at, especially most of the good players have played on really good teams. They haven't been in a lot of sticky situations. They're not trained. And so what the NFL does now, they force these guys in, they force these young guys in because they got to play them. And whether it's Zach Wilson, whether it's Justin Fields, whether it's Josh Allen, all these guys, they haven't played enough of the NFL type of football to situationally be good. So there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of interceptions yesterday. We talked about Kyler Murray, a lot of just, dumb mistakes and stuff like that. And then you look at a guy like Geno Smith, who I'm not saying that's the pattern, but he's a guy that trained himself to be an NFL quarterback over a decade of essentially failing, but knows how to play the game from being around it, from watching it, from being in the situation. So I was a little disappointed with the overall play, especially a lot of it from the quarterback position this year. But it is coming, but that's my take on it, is me and Stuart already talked about it. You have to start drafting quarterbacks as how good will you be in 4 years? Draft the talent, train them to be a quarterback, train them to be a head coach on the field, and the league will get better because of it.
Well, what did you hate?
I hated that the Packers could only score 9 points against the worst defense in the NFL. Period. Point blank. And the reason why even I hated it watching it on Sunday or seeing it on Sunday, I didn't watch a whole lot of that game, is that we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and we are going to get all the quotes, not tomorrow morning, but early afternoon. We are going to get all the quotes from things that Aaron Rodgers said on the Pat McAfee show. And you know what he's probably not going to say? That he needs to play a lot better. He let the team down on the offensive side of the ball. And he's going to mention Romeo Doubs going down. He's going to mention Christian Watson hasn't been where he needed to be. He's going to tell us how he's been having to depend on Sammy Watkins, and that's not an ideal situation. He's going to talk about how the defense only held the Lions to 15 points, but that wasn't good enough. They should have held them to 8 so that they could win the game. So I hate to see it because it's turned into every Tuesday is the Aaron Rodgers blame game. And so while watching that, I'm like, you threw 3 interceptions, 2 of which inside the red zone technically. And then the third one was like at the 24-yard line, 25-yard line. So as close to the red zone as you can get. And we get to watch the Tuesday show of 40 minutes of Aaron Rodgers playing the blame game on everybody else, as opposed to like, okay, I know you lost Devontae Adams, but you haven't been playing your part as an elite quarterback right now. And I don't believe Aaron Rodgers wins back-to-back MVPs and just jumps off a cliff, but there's got to be something there where you play better. And so to only have scored 9 points, like you do have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, how can I play better as a quarterback? And so knowing that they only scored 9 points and Tuesday turns into a blame game, I absolutely hated it because that story of Tuesdays becoming the Aaron Rodgers quote game from the Pat McAfee show is honestly getting old because you're not winning games. And we have to talk about, people are talking about Aaron Rodgers. We have to hear about what he said for the simple fact he's giving you these famous quotes and it is newsworthy. So I hated to see it play because I just, in a way, I can't wait to see what Tuesday brings, but at the same time, I know what Tuesday brings. So seeing that just kind of pissed me off.
Kenneth, what did you hate?
I hate that bad teams keep making New England look like they're a competent football team.
Oh, good one.
Seriously, like
no, you're 100%. New England's not very good.
You stole my take. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Go through
exactly what I was going to say.
And you beat Sam Ehlinger. You beat Zach Wilson, who threw a ton of picks and handed you the football game that you could only win by 5 points. You beat Jared Goff. You got beat down by Justin Fields. You beat Jacoby Brissett. And you beat Mitch Trubisky. But we have to talk about New England like they are good at 5-4. New England at the end of December will have 6 wins, in my opinion. And I cannot wait for that to happen. Unfortunately, I have to wait another week because they're on bye week now. But the schedule is coming for them, and I can't wait. So I hate that New England or that Indianapolis made them look like a good football team because they got that kind of quarterback play. Still only scored 26 points. That's not overly impressive. Like good on the defense. Like you held them to 3 points, but
their defense is pretty
good defense. But I just think we're gonna find out after that when they play the Jets again. They play the Vikings on the road, the Bills at home, Cardinals, Raiders on the road in Cincinnati. I think they're gonna get 1 win over that stretch. So I can't wait for that to come, but I hate talking about New England like they're a good team because everyone was talking about how good the AFC East is because you flash the standings and it's like, oh, all the teams are above 500. They're all really good football teams. And it's like, there's 3 good football teams in there, but one of these is not like the other. And
so can we make the same statement about the Eagles?
No,
the Eagles really haven't.
Make the same statement about the Commanders. Like why are the Eagles not a good team?
But the Eagles top to bottom have a very good roster.
Yes, but I think
schedule will show that they're not
with who they play. And this is obviously not their fault. They don't make the schedule. But you look at the quarterbacks they've had to play. Trevor Lawrence, who is his president's favorite quarterback in the league right now, had to play Cooper Rush, which nothing to discredit Cooper Rush, but he's not Dak. Mm-hmm. Look, Carson Wentz, he's about to play Taylor Heineke in a little bit, in a week from tonight. So, like, not saying that the Eagles aren't good. What I'm saying is,
Yeah, they did
Kirk
play.
in
So
prime
even when
time.
you played a good QB, you got him at the worst possible time because Kirk at 1 p.m. might be the greatest quarterback of all time. So
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
No, that is fair, Cruz. Like their records inflate, but that always happens with these undefeated teams. They're a good team, but yes, if they
because that's what everybody said 2 years about the Steelers. Everybody kept saying, "Oh, look, they haven't
Yep.
played," and everybody was like, "Oh no, but they're undefeated. They're still winning. They're still NFL."
Oh man,
And then
remember that
garbage ass
wait a minute.
Washington.
You guys were around. You remember there was one person that
You
was
hated
off
them.
the Steelers way early.
Yeah.
My only
I mean,
pushback
the
on
thing
that
about
is Philly's doing what they're supposed to do. Like at the end of the day, you don't win by style points don't matter in the NFL. At the end of the day, like I would be concerned if they had 2 to 3 losses with the quarterback play that they've gone against. But unlike like New England, where we're like, okay, they only win against those, Philly's undefeated. So it's like, okay, you can't help who's playing. They schedule these games, you know, in advance or whatever. You don't know who's going to be hurt. But what Philly's doing that New England's not doing is they're winning all the games no matter what the circumstance is. So that'd be my only pushback for Philly is like, hey, you play who you play. It is the NFL. Yes, you might have benefited from bad quarterback play, but at the end of the day, what do great teams do? They win games that they're supposed to win, and that's what Philly's doing up to this point.
because at the end of the day,
they only
Philly
have
is still
2
a good
tough
team.
tests left. The entire
Yeah, Philly's got a
Wait.
really kind schedule.
They have
the rest of the way.
easiest-
What's their tough tests? It's Dallas and it's Tennessee.
Yeah, they have the easiest schedule for the remaining.
Sorry,
remainder
Prez, I
of
can't
the
put the
season.
Giants in there.
Yeah, they have the easiest schedule for the remainder of the season, and it's like to be an undefeated team and remain and have the easiest schedule is kind of scary. But at the same time,
I will say the Giants. Yeah, they haven't played twice, right? They still have to play
They
Giants
play
twice.
the Giants twice.
Yeah, Giants will beat them.
Giants will be the one.
Like they should lose a division game. I'm not saying the Philly's going to go undefeated. They'll probably have 2 or 3 losses at the end of the year.
No, I agree with you.
But we still won't be sure heading into the playoffs because I would agree with Cruz that like the barometer there is tough to judge when you haven't had to.
It's always weird
Buffalo,
with these teams
Kansas City,
because they don't have to play that first place schedule yet.
Yep.
Look at teams that have to play that first place schedule coming back. It's Cincinnati it's taking them a minute to get momentum. Actually, I had them on my winners. I think they've kind of figured it out and they're going to be fine. But you look at these teams that come out of nowhere and win a division, and then the next season it's really tough because you just don't you just have more competition on your schedule. The same thing will happen, you know. It's just, but that's how the NFL's built. It's awesome that it works that way, but that's how it's built.
I like that they build it that way too.
Oh, absolutely. I wish
for
college
an
would do
agreement.
something like that. Oh my goodness.
All right, Prez, your turn. What did you hate this weekend?
The Giants didn't
He's
play.
ready.
I hate Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
No, you
Okay.
had no idea.
And Thad, I'm sorry. If you were watching this, I'm sorry.
I don't know this. I'm so interested in what's happening right now.
Okay, so you know how a lot of the minute Justin Fields throws an interception, he's the worst quarterback in the world. They should draft another quarterback. All this nonsense, right? And I'm not saying I'm the biggest Justin Fields believer, but you know, Trevor Lawrence hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything. He's cost his team probably 2 to 3 wins this year. He has 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games. Cost him the Giant game, okay? Cost him the Denver game. Turnovers. He gets a pass. It's like even in like the chats and all that, like that's like, oh no, you got to give him time. And it's like, I get it, we give young, but if we're evaluating off of his tape of a year and a half, and we criticize Justin Fields the same way, why isn't he getting the same criticism? Why is he still like, oh, he's still a franchise quarterback, blah blah blah? He's been mediocre. Well, what is a game that you've seen? You're like, oh, okay, that's it. That's the guy that's been the number 1 pick for the last 5 years since high school, number 1 recruit, you know, national championship at Clemson for his freshman year, all this. I don't see anyone criticizing him. He's not been good. Justin Fields has more good games in their brief NFL career than Trevor Lawrence's.
And they both came in the last couple weeks.
And I get it. He had the whole situation with Urban last year. Okay, but even if you just watch the games, how many moments were you like, whoa, okay? There are very few.
He missed a lot of throws.
And this against Giants.
Yeah.
I watched the Giant game. You know, obviously, he cost them that game. They should have won that football game. And
Denver,
he misses some Denver too. Those are 2 to 3 wins. Maybe there's another game I can't think, but those the games in particular, he missed simple throws that a NFL quarterback who's 6'5", 200 whatever pounds, who's been breaded as this boy wonder. I'm just saying, we need more. He needs more slander and all, because he has been very pedestrian as, you know, the franchise quarterback. And listen, it's still early, and he could pick it up and all that, but you know,
he's on the Baker Mayfield path. He's going to get at least 3 years before it even starts. That's just the way it is.
We get on Justin. Everyone get the minute Justin Fields has a bag. Oh, go look, he's not good no more.
I mean, I think we know what we're all saying here. Like, we know why.
Yeah, and there's more. there could be more to it, but I'm just talking strictly on the field and all that. And yeah,
but it's still the same.
That's for a whole
what he and
show.
Baker have in common.
Yeah. And it just seems like he gets, and even Zach, like I think Zach Wilson gets more slander. And obviously he plays in New York, so they'll slander anyone. So it's hard to even put that in the same. But it's like the passes he gets, it's frustrating, because it's like I'm watching, and I may not watch as much as Jaguars fans, but I'm watching. I'm like, okay, there's no special traits that we're seeing that we saw at Clemson. At Clemson, we were seeing some special traits. It doesn't seem like it's translating. Right
I
now.
feel like every time I turn on Red Zone, there is a play that Trevor Lawrence misses that is an open touchdown, and Scott Hansen has to sit there and say, "Oh, he had a man wide open and he missed him."
Wide open,
and it's every
game
he's missing one or two of those.
That's the only reason Washington won.
Compile that over an entire season and how big that is.
But just look at if you just want to look at the stats. If you just want to go stat. All right, the last game versus Vegas, just one touchdown, threw for 200 yards. Okay, had a solid game. Solid game. Okay, but they're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders, put them back. Whatever. The Denver game, atrocious interception in the red zone that you should not make. Like, you should not make. That was a terrible. And he just 2 interceptions, 133 yards. Okay, the Giants, he threw for a lot of yards, but was 22 of 43, and just wasn't good down stretch. Like, he cost them. They missed a lot of open back. Like, so we're just talking about 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games, and we're still like, oh yeah, he's the franchise. Just give him time. But Justin Fields, we can't give time to. And like I said, I'm not saying I don't think Justin Fields is going to be an elite quarterback by any means, but I've always said this with Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. Like, why is like we all the flaws in Justin Fields, like, oh, he can't do this but the Trevor Lawrence flaws, which there were flaws at Clemson, we just he's the number 1 pick because he's the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
He's tall and white.
They're going to do the same thing with Keaton Slovis this year. Or Levis.
Yeah,
Slovis, he ain't going nowhere. Sorry,
you're literally seeing it. Like, it's. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to make that a conversation, but you're tall and white. Like, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And Justin Fields is constantly looking better. He's progressing. The whole world is able to watch the progression of each week. Justin Fields is getting better, and I'm not saying we're witnessing a great quarterback. I'm not saying we're witnessing Fields turn into Patrick Mahomes. But what I will say is the perfect comparison of what Fields could be next year, if they get an adequate weapon, Fields could be Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts, if you look statistically, he's not killing. He's not a top 5 quarterback performance-wise statistically, but he's righted the ship. You gave him a top wide receiver. He's winning games. He's doing everything you want your quarterback to do in the route to try and win the Super Bowl. Yeah. And you look at Justin Fields, you're like, that's basic. I mean, they're almost splitting image, even though Fields was probably better in college. But if you tell me next year, the Jalen Hurts of next year will be Justin Fields, then I'll be like, well, the Bears pretty much got their franchise quarterback because Philly's going to have to pay Jalen Hurts.
Well,
so
it's a defend Lawrence. Lawrence could also be that. Like, he's not like,
it's not too late.
He doesn't look like he doesn't belong on an NFL field. But to Chris's point, nobody cares. And I think it's more to do with Jacksonville. I think if Lawrence is in Chicago or in New York and you switch his quarterback, like, we just don't care about what happens in Jacksonville.
Yeah, those are prestigious franchises.
And I'm not
deeply care even when they
fan base too. Yeah. Like, I don't think Jaguars fans like Thad. is the first like huge Jaguars fan where like he's bothered by loss. But I think like overall, like it's one of those like, I don't think it's like a Houston, Texas fan. Like, is people in the city of Houston mad when Houston's not good? No,
exactly.
They keep it moving and they enjoy it.
I couldn't tell you, like, we'll talk about another guy out of the draft class. I mean, Davis Mills is like, I couldn't tell you how much I care about him because I'm just not going to take the time to watch it. I don't care enough, but like he's right in there with these young quarterbacks as to where we need to figure out how good he is, but I don't want to take the time to do it.
No. Because you look at the box score at the end of the day and you're like, okay, he threw for
and right, and you just don't care. The Fields is more polarizing. It's he's more fun. He came out of Ohio State. Like there's just more people that like or hate it.
And he's in Chicago too, so that's
he's a black quarterback. He's like, it's funny because it's an ironic thing about Justin Fields. He didn't run that much at Ohio State. People think he did, but if you watch every game, his yards really weren't that. He didn't run that much, especially on the road to the national championship.
Yeah,
he is very, very good at it, and he's a very athletic quarterback. But he really wasn't a running quarterback at all. And yet he broke the record for single game rushing by a quarterback yesterday. Broke Michael Vick's record. Had 178 yards when he needed it. So like that's part of the narrative too. But yes, the whole thing about just talking about Lawrence, yes, Wilson's going to get more flack than Lawrence. Fields is going to get more flack. Dak, because he plays in Dallas, has probably got as much as scrutinized as much as anybody because of where he plays. Look at Jones and New York Giants. I mean, my God, like if Lawrence was playing for the New York Giants, we'd be having the exact same conversations we have with Daniel Jones. So I honestly think this is a case of where he plays, and he just isn't a guy that people care about that much. Like he's not Tebow. He's not. He doesn't polarize anybody. Even in college, like people were like, like they may hate Clemson, but they really didn't care about Trevor Lawrence. Like Joe Burrow's got a little pizzazz to him. People care. People just like, he's just a guy that's just kind of like under the radar. He's like an Andrew Luck. Like nobody really cared what Andrew Luck was doing. Nobody rooted against Andrew Luck. He's just like, it's Andrew Luck. If he's good, he's good. If he's not, he's not. He plays in Indianapolis. Nobody gives a shit except Indianapolis fans. Like I think he's more like that. If you tell me in 2 years Lawrence is out of the league, people really don't care.
He'll just be on that list that
he'd be like Geno Smith. If you tell me he's gonna have Geno Smith's career, nobody cares about Geno Smith's early career.
No.
Yeah,
like it was quick, and it was quick and a flurry coming out of West Virginia. Like nobody was attached to him like they are a guy like Fields or or one of these guys. It's just Lawrence just was his Q rating is not that high. And I love his commercial, by the way. The commercial with the kids is awesome.
Yeah, but if he played somewhere else, like a polarizing franchise,
what I'm saying.
Like you put Trevor Lawrence at Dallas, and he's playing subpar at Dallas.
That's all we would talk about. The world
is talking about it. You put him in New York, you put him in LA, like you put him wherever the media markets love. Chicago, the Bears are a polarizing franchise.
All we would talk about.
Yeah, you put him there, and you're like, you could have put him in Tampa, and nobody would care. Like until Tom Brady went to the Bucs. Like nobody really cared what went on in Tampa since they won the Super Bowl back in 2002. Like Tampa's not this polarizing franchise that everybody thinks, but in past 3 years you get Tom Brady and everybody's going to follow you. But even still, like Jameis Winston became a butt of everybody's joke, but nobody cared that he threw 30 interceptions. Who cares?
Wait till Deshaun Watson finally puts on the cleats in Cleveland. That's all you will hear about because people care about the combination of those two more than they do Jacksonville or Tampa Bay, even Miami. If Tua was bad in Miami, we just wouldn't be talking about him. We'd be talking about who they drafted next year. Like we wouldn't care if he was bad. We care that he's good. It's kind of fun, but really the NFL fans don't really care if Miami's quarterback's bad. I bet they couldn't name 3 of the last 6 Miami quarterbacks because you just don't care.
I don't know if I could name 3 of the last 6.
There you go. Because you just don't care. But we can name almost every Dallas quarterback, even their backups. It just is what it is.
So I'm gonna give my thing that I hate real quick. Mine's gonna be quick. I hate Tyler Heineke stands. They're unbearable. I hope Elon Musk bans all their Twitter accounts while he's on a roll today.
We'll just tell them to take parody out of the name, and you'll be good.
I think I might just get myself kicked off of Twitter at this point. Just make my own Taylor Heineke Twitter page. Taylor Heineke stands, they're unbearable. Real quick, Jeff, give me your overreaction for the week.
My overreaction is that Tyreek Hill is an overall top 5 player in the NFL. I finally bought into it. He's a difference maker. He's unstoppable. He's way better than I thought he would be. I knew he was good in Kansas City, but he's an all-around, really, really good football player. And I think he's up there with, Parsons, Josh Allen. I don't even know who my top 5 would be. But I think he's a top 5 overall player, and I'm shocked at how good he's been this season. And he might set a record for receiving yards, and he's completely turned the Dolphins team around and helped a young quarterback become a good quarterback instantly.
Mo, what's your overreaction?
Bro, so my overreaction is the Vikings are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And I'm going to tell you, I understand. Listen, I'm with you when you I'm not buying into them. They barely scrape out wins, but you are allowed to do that in the NFL. This is not college football. At the end of the day, you keep stacking wins in their pocket. They're the best team in their division. There's not really a team that I could see under any circumstance in their division that should beat them. And they could end up as the 1 seed with a bye week. And I know, okay, we're not going to trust Kirk Cousins in prime time and in a big game, right? But, I think Justin Jefferson getting in the end zone this past week was very key because he hadn't done it since week 1. But, this is just, bro, they're a really good football team. And we'll talk about top 5 teams and be afraid to put Minnesota in there. But in the same breath, people say, Dallas is better than Minnesota. Well, at what point in the season does being 7-1 and just pocketing wins, whether it's against a good team or a bad team, there comes a point in time in the NFL season where it has to matter. Being 7-1 has to matter because if Dallas, you add another win and they're 7-1, in the media, Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. If they're 7-1, Dallas is going to the Super Bowl, even with Dak, who has the same type of resume, doesn't play well in playoff games. He's the black Kirk Cousins. But because he plays for Dallas, we're buying them as Super Bowl contenders.
I think Kirk Cousins might be the black Kirk Cousins.
I was just about to say Kirk Cousins, the black Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins did show us some little, some G in him. But
he definitely got some tendencies.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I really think, it's now, going into this week and all that, we have to talk about the Vikings as Super Bowl contenders, as a top 5 team in the NFL, and as a team where we see a road that they could be in the Super Bowl. Because if I was to tell you the Vikings are going to go to the Super Bowl, I don't think from what they've showed us up to this point that you could call me crazy. You could argue it and not love their close wins. But like I said, I always go back. This is the NFL, not college football. Style points doesn't matter. They're 7-1, the second best record in the NFC, the second best record in the NFL. It's come a point in time where we got to start taking the Vikings serious until they drop off. And if they do drop off, I will come right back over here and say my overreaction from week 9 was terrible. The Vikings suck and Kirk Cousins can't get it done and they're not contenders. But right now, bro, they're just getting it done at all facets, whether it's an ugly win or whatever. You don't want to love the Vikings, but they're a Super Bowl contender. And if they were in the Super Bowl, I would not be surprised because they got the talent everywhere to do it.
I would love a Dolphins-Vikings rematch. That'd be a cool Super Bowl. A throwback Super Bowl from, 4 decades ago.
And there would be excitement in that Super Bowl. There would be a way where I could get up and be like, this can be an amazing.
I think my hot take on that is I think the Vikings will be fine as long as they don't play Northwestern. I think they will be fine as long as they don't have to go to Evanston, Illinois and play Northwestern. I think they got a shot.
Chris, what's your overreaction?
What's your overreaction?
A few weeks ago on overreaction, I said Tom Brady might be cooked. I'm going to take that back. He's not cooked.
What?
I'm taking
it
back.
Looked great.
What did he do on Sunday?
He's not a cook. That man is back. He looks healthier. He looks right. He's getting better. The divorce is over with. He has the see. This is what Tom Brady does. He's year 29 in the league. This man keeps finding motivations. So you know what? I'm not surprised that he put the divorce as another motive. I need something. I need to overcome something. You know what?
Lost one ring. Got to go get another one.
I'm gonna get another ring. I need motivation though.
To replace the one on his ring finger.
Yes.
Nice job, Cruz.
Exactly. So
how soon does he grow a goatee and buy a Corvette?
Yeah. So
pretty soon.
The minute he puts the cigarettes down.
He used the divorce as another form of motivation. Everyone's getting on him, all that, and that drive was vintage Tom Brady. And I'm back on the Tom Brady wave. I love that man. Back TB12 is back. First place, 4-5. He is not dead. He is alive.
This man
He is
just
alive.
slandered Trevor Lawrence for
Thank
half
you.
an hour.
Thank
Tell
you.
us that Tom
Trevor's
Brady
not
deserves
divorced.
the benefit
Trevor's
of the
not
doubt.
divorced.
Can I just say this really quick? Tom Brady went 36 of 58 for
He has
280.
the worst run game ever.
You are
Literally.
okay.
Literally
It doesn't
ever.
matter. We're gonna if we start picking you 36 of 58, 200 yards and a touchdown because he led the drive against a bad Rams team. We are now saying he's back, and in the same breath is saying that Trevor Lawrence now deserves slander. I get it. He should have been deserved slander, but Trevor Lawrence went 25 of 31 for damn near 280 yards and led his team back to be a bad Raiders team. And we're like, nah, Trevor Lawrence is trash and we need to get on his ass. But we're letting Tom Brady say that the GOAT is back and he's going to do GOATish things. And this is the camel on the monkey back that's going to put in the Super Bowl. What are we doing here?
Overreaction Monday. Yes, it may be an overreaction, but that man is
Oh,
back.
it 100% is overreaction because you just slandered Trevor Lawrence, who had a very efficient game that would prove everything that you said wrong. And then
I can't believe you retracted a previous overreaction. That's unprecedented. Unprecedented on
I'm
the
doing
show.
it. I said Tom Brady might be cooked.
You did it a week later. You just did it a week later. Like you said, Tom Brady was cooked in one drive against the bad Rams team is what does it for you that like, oh, this guy is back. Not the fact that he dropped for 58 times and only didn't even throw for 300 yards. Oh, no, because he led a game-winning drive against a bad Rams team who's probably not going to go to the playoffs. The GOAT is back. And
Tom Brady is. He's first place, baby. First place, baby. 4 and 5. It don't matter.
The Atlanta Falcons. Perspective here. Perspective. He's under 500. You know what the Bucks are? The Bucks are the 2020 or 2019 Washington football team who won the division at 6. That's what the Bucks are right now. That's what the Bucks are right now. The
what he did.
Washington football team.
He beat that team too.
No, Cruz knows it. Like it's they won the division, but he wasn't like, yes, he was beating his chest because he gets to talk trash to us, trash Cowboys fans that year, but he knew it wasn't legitimate.
Don't me in with you. I'm not
Taylor Heineke is leading us to the Super Bowl because he won the division.
You're a trash Cowboys fan. Don't lump me in with that.
What are we doing?
First of all, that Washington football team is better than this year's Bucks team because we went through 4 quarterbacks that year. We didn't have the GOAT. We ended up with Taylor Heineke, who went toe-to-toe with said GOAT. But that's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, and Tom Brady goes and beats on a game-winning drive a bad, horrible team.
Well, that's what Trevor Lawrence did. He beat a bad Raiders team. You want to give
that's
him
a very good retort. That's
but
actually
I'm
a very
not giving Trevor Lawrence credit. All I'm saying is I'm not going to say.
I thought I heard you say Trevor Lawrence was better than Tom Brady. I heard that.
I heard it.
I heard it.
In the same breath,
I heard it too.
Trevor Lawrence, and then tells me that the GOAT is back against a bad team. But then, hey, Trevor Lawrence doing what he did wasn't good against a bad team either. That's crazy. Fair. Tom Brady sucks right now. Let's just be honest here.
He's in first place. Trevor Lawrence isn't.
So. We respect your decision, Chris.
Yeah, no.
He's back.
Kenneth, what's your overreaction?
First of all, do mark it in your calendars for Monday, December 5th, when Mo has to come back on here. When the Vikings are sitting on 4 losses, and he does have to retract the fact that they are Super Bowl
They'll still
contenders.
be leading their division, though.
Yeah, we'll see.
They'll still be leading their division and
still be going to the playoffs
in the NFC with 4 losses. I'm just saying.
They're not going to be the 1 seed.
No, they could be second in the conference with 4 losses. Like they still could be second in the conference with 4
losses. So anyways,
losses.
They're not Super Bowl contenders. Mo's just got his Molo Cup out. Buffalo's not going to lose the rest of the year. That's my overreaction.
What?
I don't think Buffalo's going to lose the rest of the year.
Regardless of what happens?
I don't think Josh Allen.
Josh Allen might not play.
Buffalo's not going to lose the rest of the season.
Even with Matt Barkley?
Yeah. I trust him.
I don't know what to do.
And you thought the Tom Brady take was bad.
Respond to that. What?
Well, first of all, I don't think Josh Allen's going to be out that long anyways. But anyways, I just really like this Buffalo team. I think they lost a couple of tight games, and they're still the best team in the NFL.
They don't have a division win
over the next couple of months, and they'll pick
but they
those
don't
up.
have a hard of a schedule remaining though. Vikings,
they really don't.
They have a tougher schedule than you think.
Jets and Dolphins, sure.
Buffalo's don't have a division win yet. They just don't have. Like I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
making this up.
I
And
know.
we'll just
I
say
know they
this.
don't.
How are we gonna say their division or their schedule is not that tough? And then you tell me all they have left is the Dolphins. They play the Vikings next week. What are we doing here? That is a tough game, whether they win or lose. That's
I
a
don't
tough
think so.
game.
The Vikings aren't going to win that game.
They play the Dolphins. They play the Bengals. They play the Jets again, who just beat them. Their schedule isn't as favorable. I still think they're the better team in pretty much all of those matchups, but their schedule isn't favorable.
Allen's healthy. They're my pick, but I don't think he is. Well,
Yeah,
you know what?
I
Kenneth,
think he's going to be fine. I'm under the assumption that he's going to be fine.
I have one
And I
important
think
question.
They said it's UCL.
Is Northwestern on their schedule?
God, Jeff, not.
I hope not.
But yeah, I stand by it. I think Buffalo's not losing the rest of the way. I think they had their couple slip ups, and I think that they're a really complete football team, and they'll show it over the remaining 2.5
I don't
months.
think they can't run the ball, and they've only got one receiver. I don't think they're as complete as we think. I just think they have a super dynamic
we will
action
agree
star.
to disagree on that point.
action
But
star
it's
at
true. They
wide
have
receiver.
They have a superstar quarterback and they have a superstar wide receiver, which covers a lot of their flaws. But
I like their overall receiving core outside of Diggs.
even still,
I
I'm just
like
saying,
Gabe
like,
Davis. I like
with
McKenzie.
Diggs, though, like they're still one dimensional.
I like
And you've
Dawson Knox.
seen when the Jets take that away, which what do you think a playoff team is going to do? They're going to take that dimension away. The Jets did it. It's going to be a lot tougher when you're forced to have to run the ball because your superstar quarterback, the game plan to stop him, make you beat us with the run. Bills only put up 17 points. The Dolphins did the same thing against the Bills where they're like, we're not going to let you beat us through the air. We know this what you do well. Beat us with the run, you're not going to win. So I'm just saying, like, the Bills are a really good team, but I don't think they're as complete.
Oh,
and
they're
I don't,
very good.
I don't.
And
you can be-
offensively,
you
they're 13th in rushing yards per game, so they're not exactly
because Josh
completely inept.
Allen is 75% of running
That's
the
fine.
ball. And there's a lot of teams not running the ball well. It doesn't mean the Bills are running the ball well. You make them run the ball.
I'm not saying that they're running the ball really well. I'm saying that they're not terrible.
I think
in the
13th
run
and
game.
only 14 teams go to the playoffs. I don't think that's great.
Because I don't think there's a lot of bad teams that are killing it on the ground either. Like, I think most of those in the 13 are probably playoff teams or borderline playoff
I'll
teams.
get back to you on those numbers.
Except
their
run the
one
ball.
dimension is very good, but I think that if you take Diggs out, I think you have a shot against the Bills, or at least you're going to make.
Well, that's what
Josh
they did. The
Allen.
Jets did. The
You're going to make
Jets
Josh
did
Allen
exactly
work.
that. They
You're
made
gonna make
Josh Allen work.
work his
yeah, you
ass
put
off.
sauce on Diggs, and then he had the one big play for 40 yards at the beginning of the game, and then you didn't hear much from him. I'm not saying they can't beat the Jets in the playoffs, but I'm just saying these were the God-deemed Super Bowl champs with the MVP, and they were deemed everything. They're going to win it all.
They
They're
need
gonna,
home field. They need home field. They're the one team that's going to, if they have home field throughout their playoffs, I think they can get the Super Bowl.
if them and Philly have home field throughout the playoffs, it might be a Philly versus Buffalo.
Yeah, home field is important for Buffalo. They thrive
That's
at
fair.
home. They
I think
really, but on the road they can definitely get upset.
And I think Philly's the same way. I think if Philly gets to get a first round bye and get to play the next two games at home, I think they reach the Super Bowl. But if you're telling me they're not going to be first place and the game's not going to be hosted at Philly, I think it'll be a different story. I don't know who that team that would beat them at their place would be, but I'm just saying I think Philly will benefit a lot from playing in Philly as opposed to having to go on the road where conditions and weather in January.
I think a team we're not going to talk about them this week because they had a bye, but a team that we're not factoring into a lot of this is I think that if they peak by the end of the year, I think the Dallas Cowboys could be extremely good.
I'm not. Yep, I love you, Jeff. But
I know, but I know they had a bye. That's what happens on a bye week. Like we don't talk about the teams, but they have the ability to beat any team, and if they get it all together, they just might.
because they have the right recipe. They're not going to throw.
That's what I said. They got it, but we won't talk about it right now.
Yeah,
But, honestly, I'd say the same thing about the Giants. Like
Yeah,
that
that's
defense can carry you.
Play defense. Your defense can carry you. Run the ball. Run some time off the clock. Take the ball out of Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott or whoever it is on the road. Kirk Cousins. Make them have to make plays and maximize every opportunity, and it changes the whole outlook of the game. That's 100% true.
Yep. That's
My
the recipe.
overreaction, I got two real quick. One, that Ron Rivera is the most overrated coach to ever coach in the Super Bowl.
Of course.
He's just not good.
Barry Switzer would have something to say about that.
Don't even know who that is, but I guess
That's the worst NFL
You have a
coach that's
point.
ever even won a Super Bowl. It's not even close.
And also, As much as I hate to say it, I think Dallas is probably I'd probably put them ahead of as far as odds to win a Super Bowl ahead of Philly and Minnesota.
I
I think those three are close.
Any given Sunday, all three of those teams could beat each
Yeah.
other. See a world where all three of those teams compete in a tight, close game, and it could have went either way.
It's going to be really tough when Dallas is the 5 seed and has to go lose to Tampa in Tampa. That's going to hurt my soul.
Okay, because TB12, baby.
Rematch still killed Tampa.
When he has to go play a
This
7-10,
Micah
back,
Parsons.
Bay.
Micah
is not
Parsons
week
might
one.
retire Tom Brady.
They will kill Tampa. This isn't week one. Like, they will kill Tampa if they play.
I agree.
Right.
We'll see.
Sure about that.
Anyways, with that being said, thank you so much, guys, for watching Buckeye Remix. I mean, overreaction.
Please, I do thank everybody for watching Buckeye Remix.
Thank you for watching Overreaction Monday. Go check out our sponsors, SeatGeek. Use promo code Off the Ball Network. Get $20 off your first purchase.
Absolutely.
Go around the horn real quick. Tell other people where they can find you and what projects you have coming up. Start with you, Jeff.
I'm Jeff at Jeff Needs Sports. We're doing a ton of college football stuff right now. I got some NFL stuff in the, coming up in the future. So just share the Off the Ball Network YouTube. I put everything on there, or you can go to my podcast, Jeff Needs Sports, and listen to it there. And Cruz, thanks for hosting, man. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah, you can follow me at Mo_Cheese15 on Twitter, Instagram, at Upper Flames Pod on Instagram. Field Stormers will either be on tomorrow night or Wednesday, probably Wednesday. We won't do like the immediate reaction for college football playoff. We'll probably talk about it a little more on Wednesday and be able to talk about the games, because there's a few big games, couple big games that could have a lot of implications coming up this week. And then I promise you, Upper Flames is gonna record at some point. I get busy. But just make sure you follow Upper Flames everywhere you get your podcast. Make sure you follow Field Stormers everywhere you get your podcast. Make sure you go to offtheballnetwork.com to check out everybody here on this panel and all the other great work that we do, whether it's articles, more shows, betting plays. Just, make sure you check out the betting Twitter. I'm sure Ken will put that up. But and I appreciate you for hosting and having me on. But let me go, boys. I'm about to eat dinner.
All right.
See you, Mo.
Prez.
Yeah, you can follow me at Off the Ball Pod on Twitter. It's where I'm most active. Obviously, follow the network, OTB_network on Twitter, offtheballnetwork.com. Go follow the YouTube right now. Like I said, we got a lot of great content going on. Follow the podcast, Off the Ball Podcast. Also follow the new podcast we got going out, Get a Bucket podcast with me and Kev. We break down college basketball, recruiting, high school basketball. That's been fun to do. We're on our 3rd episode. 4th episode drops this weekend, so check that out. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. Appreciate you for hosting.
So firstly, Minnesota will be on 4 losses before Mo records Up in Flames episode again. So I'm taking the cheap shot because he couldn't even hang around for us to do our outros. So you can follow me at HedgePod on all social platforms Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time now with the time change, because we're weird up here and we don't change our clocks, but everyone else does. So I got to accommodate you fools. But appreciate you hosting, Cruz, as always. Haven't had the pleasure of doing a show with you or Jeff, quite frankly, in quite a while, and it's always fun chopping it up with you guys. So appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate that. You already know where you can find me, FSC Pod on Twitter, Football and Show Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Nothing major coming up. Probably February. We'll start with the draft coverage. Start getting deep into that. And then probably after the new league year starts. So 2nd week in March, I believe, I will start back up Cruise Island. So definitely be on the lookout for that coming back up. But once again, Jeff, Prez, Kenneth, thank you so much for coming on, guys. It was a blast. And we'll see you guys next time.